So here's the thing, right? When you're in touch with somebody psychically or emotionally, right? There's the layer where how they behave with you makes you feel good about yourself or bad about yourself. You can feel high if somebody treats you very well, and you can feel low if they don't treat you well. But let me tell you that beneath all of this, right, beneath this is the actual consciousness layer. And if you really want, if you really want, right, in life to be energy efficient, right, you must come down from this surface layer, all because the surface layer is going to play with your ego. On the surface layer you're going to see, you know, how which words they used when they were interacting with you, or did they give you a gift or not, you know, all these things. This is all the ego layer. And I'm not saying that you must tolerate bad behavior. No, not at all. But I'm saying that to be energy efficient, you need to even be aware of the layer beneath that, because a lot of people will just be very careful, and they're very very good at being careful on the surface layer. And you know, in ways that you cannot actually say that this person misbehaved with me. You can be very careful with it because they're trained to do that. Not all cultures are trained, but many cultures are trained. So here's the deal, right? You got to come beneath that to the consciousness layer. And in the consciousness, right, you know who you've been interacting with, like what kind of consciousness you're interacting with, based on how you feel about yourself. Because let me tell you, when you interact with another true soul, an actual soul, a human being, then no matter how they treated you on the surface, you will feel better about yourself just in proximity with them and in any kind of interaction with them, because they are a true soul and they do not have any intention of hurting you, whether consciously or unconsciously. And note this, that fake humans, even Gabriel, the fake humans, even when they consciously don't want to hurt you, subconsciously they want to, because they are vampirical. Even if they don't know it, even if they think they're spiritual and all that shit, subconsciously they want to hurt you. And in the layer beneath that surface behavior, you will feel low about yourself. You will feel weak. So you must remember this. Now, when you interact with a human, even if the human is rude to you on the surface, right? They do not have the consciousness intention of hurting you. And that is why, despite everything, you will actually feel like you're in touch with yourself. Even if that is through a bitter experience, you will feel real. You will feel like you've touched ground. And you need, right, to take this so seriously. You will feel good about yourself when you're in contact with a real human. They can fight with you, but you still will feel a kind of spiritual presence of yourself. Whereas when you have interacted with the soulless and they're even nice to you will still feel a little ungrounded. You will feel cut off from yourself, and you will feel like you need outside support. You need to be something different. You cannot be loved the way you are. You have to do something more. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do things to better yourself, to make your health better, whatever, that is always there. That's for you. That's your joy of manifesting. But you don't need that to be loved. And this is a consciousness the soulless carry like mad, like crazy. So you need to be careful about this in your life. And I want to say this, and this is probably why I started recording this, right? That a lot of the time when a human interacts with somebody, anybody, a lot of the time, right, we are interacting with the soul whose DNA that clone is carrying. And when we interact with that DNA, when we interact with, perhaps you could say, the bloodline spirit that demon is born into, then when that happens, right, we experience joy. But when we attribute that joy to that clone, then we stop feeling the joy and start feeling drained. So when this happens to you, you should not go into a sort of confusion, um, thinking maybe you did wrong by loving the spirit and the soul that you sensed. You didn't do wrong. You were loving the soul that is associated with that DNA. That's the soul that originally generated that DNA. That is what, that is who you were so thrilled by. And let me tell you that as soon as a human loves somebody or likes somebody, the the cabals, right, they're watching all the humans and they drain that clone body. They will call them to a family function. They will engineer a situation where they have to go to a hospital, and they draw blood from them, or they just are in constant vampirical contact with them through relationships or whatever. So they will quickly do an attack and drain that person. And then that person, that body, that clone body, right, it will not have the memory of soul interaction with you, because once their loosh is gone, they never recover it. So then you might be wondering, like, they loved me back on that day, and then what happened afterwards? How come, like, they don't even recognize me as me after that? They seem to have forgotten what we shared. They were drained. They were harvested. They were harvested of the soul energy. Now you can wait for them to slowly gather it back from you, by the way, by playing emotional games with you, by the way. You can wait for them to gather it back, have moments with you, and then the thug cabals will come in, contact them, drain them again. You can wait and you can be in that cycle, right? Or you can just respect the fact that you're being drained and that your self-esteem is being drained, that you are being pulled down and made to feel like a beggar. You're being humiliated. You can just acknowledge this. And I'll tell you something. When you're interacting with a soul, you will not feel humiliated. You will not feel like a beggar. When you're interacting with a soul, and let's say it's a negative interaction, they don't like you back or whatever. Forget that. Like, let's even say they have a problem with you. You're only going to feel like wind beneath your wings in contact with any human for whatever reason, because their consciousness is like that. You're going to catch their consciousness, and a human has the consciousness of a primal animal. You can feel it. So yeah, just learn, right, to um, be aware of the surface, right, but also be more aware of how you feel about yourself when you're in contact with people. How you feel about yourself. If you feel like shit, you're not dealing with a soul. That's simple.